Our coverage of Computex 2026 from Taipei, Taiwan is brought to you by G-Skill, Thermaltake, and Cooler Master. Hey guys, I'm visiting HYTE. The premier product that they have here is the Y50 case, $100. I'm starting out with the price because they were aiming to make the case below $100. And I'm here with Ish because he knows way more about all this stuff than I could possibly repeat to you guys. So what's your official title at HYTE?
Senior Product Marketing Manager.
Senior Product Marketing Manager. Let's start with the Y50 over here.
Sounds good. All right. So Y50 is what we're calling the essential aesthetic case. It is designed to give you all the necessities you want out of a modern case, with also some of the niceties that people look for. And so it has our 3-piece panoramic glass. It still has our dual chamber layout, so you get all your build up front and center with the cable management in the back. As you might see, it's the first Y series case to ditch the vertical riser. That was a very cost-conscious choice we made because that saves an immediate $100 on cost to the customer. Especially with the compounding tariffs, those have only become more expensive. And then if we were to upgrade to 5.0, that becomes almost $150. So passing all those savings on directly to the customer also improves compatibility. So any GPU fits just fine. Plus, for streamers and creators, this is the very first Y series case that'll easily support any expansion cards, capture cards, etc. Or for multi-GPU workloads, if you're doing local rendering, local inference models, so whatever. But Y50 is the first case to actually support that type of expansion from HYTE. It's also the very first case of all of our case lineup to support Rare Connect ecosystems. So ASUS BTF, Gigabyte Stealth, and MSI Project Zero, all natively compatible. It still retains eATX, ATX, MATX, and ITX compatibility. So truly a jack of all trades in terms of what you can fit and build inside.
It's also available in a variety of colors. We got the strawberry, is it strawberry milk?
Yeah, strawberry milk, taro milk, and then snow white, pitch black, and then we call this one black cherry. It's a high gloss red on the exterior with a black interior.
In terms, we already mentioned the price, $100. That's pretty much all around. And these are going to be going up for pre-order next month.
And shipping in August, correct. Plus, all these RGB fans, the 4, are included out of the box. So you get a triple fan on the side. That's a rare reverse blade design. That way the pretty side's facing you. And then one in the back as exhaust.
And this is just an example of one of these, what is that, the MSI?
It's the Gigabyte Stealth.
That's the Gigabyte Stealth right there. So this is an example of one of using the rear connectors to keep the cable clutter down inside the case. Looking very nice. And the fact that it's coming in at under $100, I think is something that people need in today's market, trying to keep the price down for their builds.
Stuff is getting more expensive to build. PC gaming was built on the backs of being able to let anybody enter the realm and enjoy gaming, right? Everybody starts somewhere. I mean, I started on a really crummy laptop back in the day with Intel HD 3000 integrated graphics. And I remember pushing the render resolution all the way down, trying to lower all the settings just to make sure the game doesn't stop and stick.
How did you live? Somehow you get by, but
I even played on the touchpad at one point. I was playing FPS games on a touchpad. The little nipple that Lenovo had, those came in clutch back then. But you know, we've worked our way up. But so it's like, to me, this is a personal thing. Keeping the openness and entry path to PC gaming available to everyone. And that's what the beauty is about the hobby. You can enter at any price point. It's getting much harder now to do that, but we're trying to keep that spark alive. Because that's ultimately what keeps bringing new people into this hobby and keeps the innovation going.
We got to keep the hobby alive too. All right, we got a few more things over on the side. All right, so over here we have a couple products that are still in development and might come out later. Let's focus on the cables first because these are going to be launching soon, also in the next couple months.
Correct.
We saw these at CES. These are basically colorways matched cable extension kits that go along with the cool colors that HYTE has chosen for many of their cases. So you got the strawberry milk over there, strawberry milk cable extensions. I built my wife a system, or transferred a system into the X50, and I totally need to upgrade it with these now because they're very premium. These are, what materials are we using here?
So there's a silicone insulation layer inside. That's where the bendiness and also rigidity comes from. It's that perfect balance of, hey, I can move this around and it's gonna stay in that shape.
And then what configurations are these gonna be available
So
in?
there'll be 2 types of kits. One will be available with a 12-volt 2x6. That's gonna be a native cable for the NVIDIA power connector. And then it's going to come with 2 CPU 8 pins and a 24-pin ATX. And then the alternate kit is going to drop the 12-volt 2x6 and replace that with 3 PCIe 8 pins. So you could use it on more older GPU designs or traditional designs that AMD still uses for their connectors.
If you want a connector that has much less risk of melting and stuff, that's probably the way to go. But if you got an NVIDIA graphics card, you don't really have much choice. We're trying to work with NVIDIA as much as we can. This is an air cooler that was also in development at CES. This is currently on pause for now.
Yep.
So guys, HYTE is looking for some feedback on some of these products that are on pause. It's a difficult in the manufacturing space right now with the PC hardware market being what it is. So HYTE needs to make sometimes some difficult business decisions about what products to go ahead with going into full manufacturing on versus products that they maybe have gotten far along with but maybe need to put on hold for now. So what was the name of the air cooler?
This was A60, and we actually had a few versions developed in various different colorways. This was very close to being an actual final product, but we figured out the MSRP would have to be around 80 bucks. And at that point, we were questioning internally, is someone actually going to spend the money on an air cooler at 80 bucks that is designed mainly for aesthetics? Or are they going to go with something that's like 20 bucks more for a Liquid Freezer 3 or pay $20 over that and you get an NHG 15? So really the value proposition was in question there. We love the design. It goes really well hand in hand with the X50, but ultimately the other challenge was also, this is a dual tower cooler with a single fan. And nobody really does that. So even when we were doing the market research, it was hard to find things to compare against because typically dual towers use 2 fans. And then a single tower is typically going to have 1, maybe even 2 fans. But nobody else has done a dual tower with 1 fan. So we had to go out and design a really thick fan to make sure there was enough static pressure to get through both fin stacks and push and pull. So it was very much an engineering challenge, but ultimately we had to shelve it just based off of cost alone. But yes, we have heard a lot of feedback on the aesthetics and how people love how it looks.
So if you guys are interested and you want to encourage HYTE to revisit this in the future, definitely leave some comments down below. This little guy right here caught my eye at first because it's like a little, it's so cute. It's a little box. This is the
X20.
X20. Okay, and this is also in development, not ready for mass production, or maybe like ready, but
this is also shelved with A60. So Z50 is the one that's potentially ready, but X20 was, when we initially launched X50, there was a lot of appeal for the rounded design, and we felt that this would suit the SFF audience more. But as we looked into it, we loved the idea of the case, and so the goal was, ideally, you'd have 2 panels, and you would be able to vertically mount or horizontally mount your GPU in this configuration. If you wanted to horizontally mount, we'd support a mesh panel on the side that I just opened and a glass panel on the other side. If you wanted to vertically mount, we would support a glass panel on this side and a mesh panel on this side, so you'd still get airflow. And so the goal was ultimately to create an SFF-friendly version of this rounded case where the front would then be an entire touchscreen. So we were actually sourcing large rounded square touchscreens at the time to mimic essentially what we did with Y70 Touch, but on a much smaller form factor with a wider, larger display that's much more akin to traditional aspect ratios.
all right. So again, if you guys are really digging the look of this case, or you're looking for something in the small form factor realm that has definitely a more distinct look to it, feedback in the comment section down below is greatly appreciated. And then over here we have not the X90, but a very similar look to the X90. This is the Z50, and they've added the zebra stripes to it.
So at CES, we showed off Z90. It was our impossible airflow case. The design, the manufacturing, the engineering behind it would have put the MSRP somewhere north of 500 bucks per unit. And so we'd spent so much time developing that type of case design, we learned a lot from it and transferred it over to X50 and also Y50 now. But ultimately, the question was, does the market exist for a $500 case? And we felt pretty strongly that was a resounding no. But we'd spent so much time developing it, we wanted to show off all the stuff we'd learned. And everybody in the comments was like, hey, I love this design. Can I get this for my X50 somehow? Because we talked about how X50 was basically birthed by the Z90 because it was the internal structure that we basically took out and turned it into a case. And so for Z50, we've taken the X50 Air design, we've pushed the zebra ribs onto the X50 chassis, and so now you get that similar aesthetic, And then we also took out the modular multi-rail in the front and replaced it with two 20-centimeter fans. And they are RGB fans. So you get a lot more airflow pushing through the front of the case right out of the box. And so this is something we are ready to go into mass production with if there's enough demand. But again, this is something we're questioning, like, was it something at CES as a prototype case, as a concept case we showed off with the story that really got people behind it? Or is this something people are actually interested in buying and owning and putting on their desk?
That's like always the biggest question as a manufacturer.
Yep.
Is like, are we getting a lot of positive feedback, or we actually have people who are ready to buy something like this? All right, next up we have some fans over here, the FA12 Solo and FA12 Trio. These are the second generation
These are the second generation.
HYTE fans. And as you can see, we've got a single frame design for three 120s, or a single 120 by itself. What's the difference between these and the first gen?
So the first gen, they were all single fans, and they were only available in one orientation. So they did have some complexity in terms of, okay, you got to cable manage one set every single time. Plus, if you take a look at these X50s, on the side, we're actually using the original FA12s. So you can see they don't have the pretty side of the fan facing the inside all the time. You can actually see the hubcap. Whereas down below, you can see we have a reverse blade trio, so it looks much cleaner in terms of the aesthetics. And so that was the main goal of, hey, we're getting feedback from our sales team, these are selling really well, but they want a reverse blade option. And we are already developing our RGB fans in that unibody design, so we designed these with that same aesthetic to keep it congruent across our entire ecosystem.
And I think with both these and the first gen FA12s, just one thing that I really appreciated when I built in the X50 was without RGB, the color matching and everything, in terms of aesthetics, like it makes such a clean overall finished look.
It's really hard to color match these, and so that's why we take a lot of pride in our color matching, because we do it across plastics, acrylics, cloth, braided sleeving, metals. All of those different materials have very different properties under how they're going to react to different types of lighting. And so we've had times where we bring a product in, we have multiple different samples. We look at them under darker lighting. We take them out into the sun. We take a look at what it looks like there. And then we take it into our studio with flat, even diffused lighting. And then we determine, okay, which one looks the best in all lighting scenarios and which one is the truest and closest to what we want. And that's the kind of process it takes with multiple back and forth rounds with our factory to get this type of color matching across all these different pieces of material.
Earlier days of PC hardware, I feel like when white components started to become a thing.
Oh my God.
Like, oh, that'd be so cool in concept, and then you actually get parts in and put them together, and you're like, the shades don't match,
off,
and
it's a little off tint. And even with RGB, everybody has a different white balance they're targeting. So you end up building with a bunch of RGB fans, and you might get a yellow white or a cool white with something else, and then like a white that's calibrated D65 white point for monitors. And so you're like, all these different colors, but then you're stuck as the consumer trying to figure out, okay, how do I adjust this so it looks the same? And sometimes they end up looking blue. So it very much is a challenge.
All right, we got some other fans over here, fancier.
So over here we have our thick FR12 Trio and the thick FR12 Solo. For 3.5 years we were developing our RGB fans. We've gone through a lot of changes in our hardware ecosystem and architecture in those 3 years, which is why it's taken a while. And so our goal was how to create one of the best looking, best performing RGB fans on 5-volt ARGB architecture using just ARGB headers and PWM headers. No proprietary bullshit. And so this is what we ended up with. We have the Trio, which is a triple frame in one unibody. And because of that triple frame design, that's really the only reason we can execute on such a nice diffused ring lighting pattern along with the perimeter edge lighting across the case. If you have single fans, obviously you have the darker non-lit portion of the frame interfering with those aesthetics. And so we went with these two designs, these two sizes, because typically you're either going to fill out your entire side of the case or you have one rear fan. And so this kind of solves that by allowing you to daisy chain off of ARGB and PWM. So you can daisy chain up to 3 of these fans off of a single motherboard header. It comes with 68 RGB LEDs on the Trios, 33 for the Solos. They are a 32mm extra thick frame. That's why they're called the thick FR12. And so the frame helps improve performance for both airflow and static pressure. A little over 57 CFM for the airflow and around 4.5mm for the static pressure. So it's a great balance of both airflow and radiator fan. So if you want to use it in your case, you're rad. it's more than well equipped to do that.
And given the limitations of like a single 5-volt header, the distribution of the LEDs, I think you guys have done a good job to keeping the balance there. Now, if you happen to need more LEDs, more RGB in your system, some people like to go ham, we've got these devices down here.
So these are the noodles. So we've had our ARGB noodles available in 2 different sizes for 2 years. But again, they were built on our proprietary architecture in the past. We stripped all that away, brought the price down, and passed that directly onto the consumer. So these are now ARGB noodles. They work with, yes, they are precision engineered to fit in our fan grills down below in our case. But because we have mounting clips, and since it's an ARGB header now, they are universally compatible. So you can resize them, bend them to whatever case you have, and use them to get edge permanent lighting inside your case. So the noodles are $29.99, and then the fans for the Solo are $19.99 and $44.99 for the Trios.
Oh, and I think for the FA12, we didn't mention the prices.
FA12s, the Trio is $24.99, and then the Solo comes in a 4-pack for $39.99.
Very reasonable, especially given how expensive some fans can get these days. And then we got the Smart Hub here.
Yes. So originally with our proprietary architecture, we didn't need something like this because we built it on 12 volt, which allows you to deliver much more power. But because we're using standard headers, we needed a way to deliver more power to these ARGB and PWM devices. So we developed our own Smart Hub. It is powered by SATA, so it takes 1 SATA rail from your power supply, which gives you around 20 watts of power to distribute across any ARGB products you plug in. There's 4 ARGB ports and 4 PWM ports, all universally compatible, no proprietary anything here, but they do have an ID chip inside, so it allows you to individually address every single port. A lot of cheap hubs off of Amazon, what they'll do is you'll send 1 lighting signal and 1 fan signal, and it'll just repeat it across all of its ports. So it's not really true, unique, customization. But with ours, every single header, ARGB or PWM, can be completely reconfigured to its own lighting and its own speed.
And with that, you can control the RGB directly through the device,
yep,
or you can pass through from your motherboard, use the motherboard control there. But of course, as we're going to see in a moment, HYTE also has their own software, which you might be more interested in.
So what we're showing off here is the current version of Nexus 2.0 and the future that we're building with Nexus 3.0. So on this configuration here, we have Nexus 2.0, which we spent the past year expanding out from just supporting HYTE hardware to integrating OpenRGB as SDK. So it now supports 1,800 third-party devices. We also built in motherboard fan header and RGB header detection and control to get universal fan control through Nexus. But now we are also expanding the potentials with our collab and IP projects. So this is a 3D model of a character running and rendering locally on the system through HYTE Nexus software. And what this enables us to do is, for all of our collab series projects, we typically have some sort of character or IP that can be digitized and displayed on your case while reacting and interacting with what happens through various APIs and SDKs that we get with those developers or IP holders. And so, for example, if your PC starts getting too hot, the character can start sweating, or it can react to things happening in game. And so that's the future we're building with Nexus for our collab series projects, which have been typically one of our most popular.
Since this is running locally, is there any system overhead involved that you guys have tested?
Yes, so there's absolutely going to be slight bump in system overhead because it is going to take some GPU resources to power. And so what we're currently exploring is ways to let the 3D models run off of integrated graphics while letting your dedicated graphics control whatever game. That way you don't lose that performance overhead. And so that's still something we're working with, but for now it is running all on the dedicated GPU.
The next generation of HYTE's software is over here. This is Nexus 3.0?
Correct.
Okay.
And so Nexus 3.0 is actually rebuilt from the ground up. And this is not just a video game ground up where we take the old engine, we change it up a bit, we refactor some code, and oh, now we're marketing it as a brand new. No, this is literally written from scratch, completely differently from the Nexus 2.0 code base. There's not a single line of code that has been transferred over. And so 3.0 is no longer just an application. It runs as a service. So it was previously a almost gigabyte install on your file size is now a 25 megabyte service that runs silently in the background. And then when you power on Nexus, it opens up a local portal running through a web UI, so your browser is actually interacting and giving the user interface to control, monitor, and customize your setup. And so this runs 75% lighter in terms of resource load than Nexus 2.0. And it's not just for desktop. So Nexus 3.0 is also expanding the capability into other ecosystems and devices. And so what you can do is, let's say you want to pair a phone, for example. You can scan this QR code. It's going to open up a portal on your web browser on your phone that will then synchronize to everything that's happening on your PC and control it that way.
And I actually did a little demo of this. It is very quick. It pairs up with the phone, and then you can immediately start controlling everything that the Nexus 3 software can control.
Let's see if I can get it to work here. So there we go. Scan the QR code, connecting to my PC. It's connecting over the internet. So this would run locally on your wireless LAN. You can see iPhone is being detected. It's loading up the user interface. And now if we go back to the main section, I can actually edit and control things on my system from the palm of my hand. For example, let's say I want to control my display brightness. I could actually control Windows display brightness through my phone, which is something you just simply cannot do with anything else. Plus, lighting control. So if I tap here, it's going to start synchronizing and controlling the color customization through Nexus 3.0 and synchronizing that to the PC. So you can see it's updating on my phone, it's updating on this touchscreen, it's updating on the actual system, and it's updating on the web UI of Nexus, all simultaneously over the internet.
And I think something that people might really like is that you're not limited to using this with Windows.
Correct. And so we've seen the migration. There is more talk now more than ever, thanks to the efforts Valve has put in with their kernel, with the ability of Steam Deck to run so many games. Linux gaming is now becoming more and more mainstream. It's still not the same level of Windows, obviously, but there is a market that's vying for a utility that allows you to control and monitor everything across Windows and Linux. So here, we have Nexus running natively on my MacBook Pro. And here you can see it's actually picking up the Apple Silicon, the amount of cores, the utilization, the GPU. Every single statistic you can monitor on Windows, you can do on Linux as well. And we also have native applications for iOS and Android that we are developing in addition to the web UI. So it doesn't matter how you want to control it, all of this will get synchronized across one platform in the palm of your hand. And the goal here is, if for people who have Y50 Touch, this is going to be a lighter, faster, cleaner, more intuitive user experience. And it continues building on widgets and customization that we started with, so you can do more with your touchscreen.
And since it's running on a local host, basically any device you have connected to your network that has a web browser,
Correct.
You can pull it up on and use it as control.
So everyone typically has a smartphone of some capability in their pocket. You can scan the QR code, control it from there. A lot of people starting to have tablets now that just sit around and collect dust unless you're watching something on Netflix or browsing, right? And so you can scan that QR code, and all of a sudden you have a digital dashboard that you already own. You don't have to go out and buy another display to do this. And so it just expands the customizability and utility available at your desk. And this is especially important for someone like a Y50 buyer. Y70 Touch obviously has the display built into the case. But for someone buying a $99.99 case, they typically might already have a phone or a tablet. So they don't need to go out and buy a display upgrade. They can use of course not to the same extent or same usability in terms of the Y70 Touch, but they can have a different display with a touchscreen that's paired and allows them to do most of the things just fine.
And just like you guys do with your RGB, I like the flexibility of interoperability with other brands. And in case you guys didn't catch it, 25 megabytes as far as a background utility. That's pretty slim and pretty low in terms of system resources.
So we're pretty proud of that, and Nexus 3.0 is not far off. We are going to be launching a closed beta next month. We have a closed beta group that's been helping us develop Nexus 2.0 over the years, and so we're going to use that group to help build Nexus 3.0 up to feature parity with 2.0. Once we hit that feature parity, then we'll launch a public beta version of Nexus 3, and then slowly migrate everyone over to Nexus 3 as the only option in the future. And we're planning to do this across Q3. Hopefully, that is the timeline for now. And then, of course, by the end of this year, absolutely, we'll have Nexus 3.0 out the door.
Some stuff to look forward to later in 2026, if you were depressed about the PC hardware market otherwise.
Oh, and all of this is for free, by the way. Oh. We're not going to charge you for unlocking RGB customization packages like some of our competitors in the space.
It's a great way to get people into the HYTE ecosystem. So.
Yeah, and it's not really just about the ecosystem. We're all PC users, we're all PC builders, and we're all gamers at heart. We built systems ourselves. We use systems at home which require 3 to 4 different micro utilities, and it's just a shitty experience. And so for all these years, it's like we as gamers, we dream about the scenario of what if there's just one light, clean piece of software that just works across everything. And so we're the ones building that reality. And so that's what makes me really excited about it is this is the utility I wish I had like a decade ago when I started building PCs. But now we're enabling other brand new builders to experience what we couldn't, but still get to enjoy it from the sides with Nexus 3.0.
It is a noble goal. All right, Ish, I think that's all the time we have for today. I'm going to awkwardly shake your hand across as I hold my camera.
Nice to see you as well as Paul.
Finish with a couple shots of this custom build they have over here featuring HYTE Y101, as well as that guy climbing up the side of it. What was his name? I forget his name. The guy who climbed HYTE Y101.
Alex Hahn?
Yeah, that guy. Cool. All right, thanks for watching this video, guys. A huge thank you to my sponsors for Computex 2026, G-Skill, Cooler Master, and Thermaltake. If you guys want to see more videos, it's linked in the description below. We'll see you in the next one.